If you are stuck under $75,000 a year in your detailing business and you think that you need to hire someone so that you can finally take on more work so you can cross six figures, it's probably a mistake. What's going on, guys? Luke here with Wilson Auto Detailing and AutoDetailer.com. I grew my detailing business past six figures by the time I was 20 years old, and I don't say that for any other reason other than to say I have made so many mistakes in doing that and still continue sometimes to make the same mistakes over and over. I want to spare you the pain. And so I was talking to a detailer just the other day who was stuck between about $30,000 and $40,000, and he's a member of our accelerator network at AutoDetailer.com, which is just a group of detailers who are all doing somewhere between $30,000 and $90,000 a year looking to scale up. And he said, I'm stuck between 30 and 40K because I have so much extra work I can't get to because I'm out here detailing all day. If I just hired somebody to take on and close those leads, I would be able to scale up. And my response immediately was just a simple question, which is, with what money are you going to hire someone making $30,000 to $40,000 per year in your detailing business? Now, in his defense, think about this from his perspective. Number one, he's getting leads coming into his detailing business every day, and he's actually closing customers. Number two, he's turning away leads and customers who want to become customers because he can't take on the work. And number three, he's making money. He's making between 30 and 40K per year right now in his first year or second year in his detailing business. And so what's the problem? Well, from his perspective, given what I just said, he thinks the problem is, number one, I'm turning away customers. Customers is how I make money. I need help to take on more customers to make more money. This is super logical and super incorrect. And the only thing that is needed to be asked in order to find out that this is not true is to simply ask, how much money do you have to hire this person? And of course, the answer is zero. Because number one, between 30 and 40 grand a year is not much money in the first place. And number two, it's certainly not enough to bring on another person. Now, apart from the money, the other thing I have to highlight about this that is often this hidden cost that nobody actually understands until they do it is simply the cost of change, the cost of training, and the cost of turnover. When you start to bring on another detailing technician into your business, especially that first hire, this is something that requires several months of very dedicated training while this person is being paid, generally on like an hourly basis or a per job basis as they are training. And this is actually something we just talked about the other night in our six-figure network at AutoDetailer.com. One of our guys just crossed his 1 year mark of having his first full-time W-2 employee, and he said it took about 4 months of really intense shadow work before he was ready to go away on his own and detail without me.
I think that people who hire someone who is new need to bake that in and realize that there's probably going to be a 2-month burn time where you're going to burn some cash training somebody. But as soon as they got through and learned the process, then like I mentioned earlier, we're able to get through way more cars than I could ever do on my own. And so that's where I started to see my profits really start to take off.
So it all makes perfect sense thinking I need another person to help me take on more work. But what is not ever thought about is the cost of change or the cost of turnover of that person, because the same guy I was just referring to, Bryce, who you saw on screen, who just hit his 1 year mark with his first employee, also is the same guy who had to go through 3 other people before he landed on that final employee. And he's making significantly more than 30 to 40 grand per year detailing before he brought on his technician. So let's deal with the first problem, which is, of course, if I can't solve the problem I currently have by bringing on someone to help me take on more leads because I can't afford to pay somebody, then what is the actual problem in my business? And ultimately, the problem comes down to a pricing problem. If you are making 30 to 40 grand per year in your detailing business and you are maxed out day to day in your schedule, you more than likely have a pricing problem, meaning all of your effort and time is going into detailing. And even when all of your effort and time is going into that, you're still barely making a full-time income doing all of it, running your business without the ability to bring on any more capacity. And what it probably means is that you missed one of those thresholds for a price raise somewhere along the way. Now, guys, really quickly, I wanted to interrupt this video and give you a very important announcement. Bryce, that you just saw on screen, is a six-figure detailer, a part of our six-figure network at AutoDetailer.com. If you're a detailer who's not yet at six figures, but you want to join a super qualified network, we've got a place for you. It's just not the six-figure network. Go below to AutoDetailer.com, fill out the form. In the meantime, you can join our free community, and then we can book a call and see where you would be a best fit. If you want to get access to crazy wholesale prices, incredibly accomplished detailers who are doing the same thing you want to do, and you want to grow your business faster, there's no secret, but if you plug into a network of people who know what they're doing, you're going to grow a lot faster. So the first thing we talked through with this particular member of the network network is that all of his prices across the board needed to be immediately raised by about 30%. Now, a 30% price raise is not necessarily what is best for everyone all the time. But when you're in a situation where you're doing, let's say, 40 grand a year and you're completely maxed out without any ability to take on more work, a 30% price increase is generally going to, number one, immediately increase you from that $40,000 per year mark. But at the very minimum, what it does is it's a subtle enough price increase such that you are not going to start dipping below 40 grand. But what is going to happen is your conversion rate is going to slightly dip, potentially until you become a little bit better at sales and talking on the phone, such that you're making the same amount of money, but you have more time freed up in your schedule to do other things. And that's actually the point of this type of price raise at this particular percentage, at this particular annual revenue. You want to weed some leads and weed some customers out and maintain that 40 grand per year ground that you're standing on so that you're making the same amount and you have a little bit more time in your schedule. Now, the second thing that we looked at after saying we need to raise the prices across the board 30% was his primary lead acquisition channel, which, by the way, drum roll please, is Google Business Profile. Why is your Google Business Profile the most important part of your business at this stage? It's because reviews on your Google Business Profile is the fastest way to put it at the top, which is the fastest way to get found in your local area, and which is the fastest way to get calls coming into your cell phone, okay? It's not a big secret, and you don't need to pay $300 an hour with some detailing expert for them to tell you that that's the case. But his primary lead flow or channel was actually a mix of Google Business Profile and then some word of mouth stuff that he was doing. So the very next thing that we started to hone in on was how to double down on the optimization of his profile. Why? Because that is the most reliable source of leads and lead flow over the next year and 2 years before we start getting into paid advertising, which we're not going to get into until his business is kind of raised to that next layer or next level or next tier when he's making more money, in the same way that we're not getting to hiring before you're at that next tier. So we want to double down on the thing that's most controllable, which is what most detailers don't do. They say, hey, I'm getting some word of mouth. I'm going to go hand out business cards. I'm going to go hand out flyers. Man, ChatGPT was launched. AI is now in the universe. If you are handing out flyers, your business is going to die. It's crazy. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. And so the point here is not to do a bunch of new stuff necessarily, but to say, hey, about 50% of your effort is going into this particular lead flow channel, and about 50% or less of your customers are coming from this. And I know it's tempting to not focus on it because you've got this really strong thing over here. Let's maintain the strong thing over here, and in the meantime, leverage these incoming customers for the optimization of the profile, because this thing over here is going to become way more predictable over time than this. And this is probably going to drop off real soon because you're at the revenue level where it starts to drop off and it becomes extremely sporadic, and you start to dip below what you're used to making in that $30,000 to $40,000 annual revenue range. So we started hyper focusing on the Google Business Profile, and specifically Google Business Profile reviews, because guess what? The second he wants to start running paid ads, we're going to start looking at the Google local service area ads in his particular area, which is going to push his Google Business Profile to the top. But we don't want to do that until it's hyper optimized. Little known secret. It's the next best step in terms of ad spend if it's available in your area and you're below $75,000 in your detailing business. And the reason we know this is because we've been able to replicate this across so many detailing businesses inside of autodetailer.com. It's silly. So we have all this information now to say, hey, we know this is what works best. So number one, we raise all the existing prices. Number two, we double down on the most predictable long-term or medium to long-term lead flow and therefore customer acquisition channel, which, by the way, is free. We're talking about Google Business Profile. And number three, we looked at his actual service offering and the way that he was structuring his prices and his services. And he was doing exactly what most detailers were doing, which is basically creating this slew of services that are super confusing, adding on a bunch of nonsense to a bunch of nonsense that confuses the customer where they don't know what to pick. And the ironic thing here is that in his case, it actually wasn't lowering his conversion rate on the phone because he was just talking through which service was best for the person. They weren't making their own decision based on looking at his website. But the way it was kneecapping him is that in having this slew of offering, he didn't have one that was generally more expensive that stood out from the core offering that people would be taking anyways, and that would allow him to double his profit margin or triple his profit margin just by offering a signature package, because it was one among so many. So even at the higher price points, it didn't stand out. So here's what I mean by this. If you're offering a core service offering of like interior, exterior, and complete detailing, right? And maybe it sits around $250, but then you have your bronze package, which is $275. And then you have your gold package, which is $325. And then you have your double gold package, which is $400. Well, the double gold package sitting at $400 no longer sits outside as this outlier expensive signature thing that attracts someone who wants to spend more money on their car, because you have so many intermediary steps between your core offering and the thing out here. It's why you should eliminate the middleman and just get your core and the signature out here, because a certain percentage of people are going to take that signature package just because it exists, and it's going to allow you to literally double your profit profit margin because you'll be able to add and stack on a list of extra services that takes you an extra hour, 2 hours to add to the detail, but it lets you double the detailing price. In other words, you're able to double your core offering price by adding an extra hour to 2 hours, which is going to skyrocket again your margin, skyrocket your hourly rate, and it's going to allow you to make more money. And that's the problem that we're trying to solve with this particular detailing business. Number one, we got to raise prices. Number two, we got to double down on what's bringing in the most leads and what will bring in the most leads long term. And number three, we got to make sure that we clean up the service offering so that it makes it easier for us to make more money over the next year. That's the way we're going to fix the problem he's solving, not by hiring on another person. All right, guys, hopefully this was helpful. If you made it this far, you're probably a detailing business owner or you're really wanting to get started in the business. And so if that's you, please don't go hire the next marketing agency. Don't go buy more products. Don't buy the next program or the next course. Go below to autodetailer.com, book a call with me. You can join our free community in the meantime. I would love to talk about where you're at in business, where you're at in revenue, and where you would be the best fit at autodetailer.com. The fastest way to learn is just by plugging into a network of other really qualified operators who are qualified by revenue and who are doing things successfully. Learn what they're doing, implement it in your business. If you like this video, you're definitely going to like the community we have there. Go fill out the form and we can book a one-on-one call. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. And from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, I'll see you in the next video.